All right, let's read our vision statement. Cultivating a culture of learning, empowering team members to deliver a proactive, professional, exceptional service experience. Yay. Anybody want to guess where that picture was taken?
Got it off the internet.
No. That's sunrise on Worcester Lake. I was hunting Saturday morning. So this morning we're going to talk about the risk management department and what we do. So if you've attended my other two trainings, I did the introduction to OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and then more recently I did the introduction, or kind of how we interface with workers' comp on our clients' behalf. So this presentation is going to tie all that together. I'll try not to bore you too much. This is a very high-level look at what we do day to day. So today we're going to discuss risk management in the workplace, inspections, trainings, workers' compensation management, a very small piece. I'm going to throw some statistics at you of what we're dealing with, and then how we do compliance assistance for our clients. So the risk management department's myself, I'm the director. Rick Small, he's here until end of March next year. And then our new member, Brad Hayes.
Yay!
Hi, Brad.
Speech, make him talk. So risk management in the workplace, there's a huge amount of cost associated with risks. When we're talking about risk, we kind of look at lives, property, and then total income. So we're not just looking at employees getting injured, we're also looking at where employers can save money by not damaging their products or potentially damaging their property. We also look at a little bit of security while we're out. A lot of our clients ask us to do security inspections. So the point of that is to prevent potential loss of income. Right, that's kind of what they're looking at. They're paying forward, hoping that we can help prevent losses that's going to cost them injuries. So the benefits, of course, we want to prevent losses at all costs. And we consider any type of loss injury. So even a first aid case, we'll call that a loss. Because at that point, that person's no longer being productive. They have to stop what they're doing and go get some treatment. So that's kind of where we're at. And the peace of mind. Some of our business owners really sleep well at night knowing if OSHA shows up, they're not going to have to freak out and scramble. Some of them don't care if OSHA shows up, I'm not going to lie. But some of them really take value in that point that we can help make them compliant. We can't force them into compliance, but we can assist them. So, risk management department. We've talked about workers' comp in the past. We've talked about OSHA compliance. Going beyond that, one of the most valuable things we provide to our clients is on-site inspection. We roll in, we do a full-blown inspection. We can provide them with a report, shows them where potential injuries could happen, whether it's workplace issues or behavior issues. It doesn't matter. We look at all of them. And maybe it's a building issue, security. We do a little bit of consulting work on the side, working with some clients or non-clients, and we do a lot of safety training. Safety training for us is pretty tricky because we get something scheduled, we drive out to do it, and last minute production call, they can't make it. So oftentimes that happens. So the inspections, 2019, this year, we've inspected over 100 separate clients. That doesn't mean 100 inspections, that means we've seen at least 100. That totals over 250 inspections. Across 250 inspections, we've identified over 700 safety issues, new safety issues. That's not counting the reoccurring. So we have certain clients, we can go out and do an inspection, generate this beautiful report, and they look at it, drop it in the trash, carry on with life. Those numbers aren't tallied up there. This is 700 18 brand new issues. We've identified over almost 40 environmental violations. We don't specialize in environmental because it's such a broad topic, but because we have a background in environmental, when we see those issues, we bring them up and we help with some compliance. 12 physical security issues. Most notably is when I went out to North Carolina. If you guys remember, we had a really serious workplace violence issue out there. When I went out there, I spent about half a day just looking at security for those folks. So, and we cover a very sizable geographic area. When you look at where we travel to, mostly by car, we cover a large area. Mostly Arkansas, but we do get into Oklahoma and Texas quite a bit, and a little bit into Missouri. So what we find, this is pulled right off of an app that I use to help coach me through my inspection process. The top issues are almost always electrical safety. When you move into an old facility, electrical's not going to be updated, typically. So electrical, fire safety, machine guarding, forklifts is always a big one, and then compressed air. Something as simple to manage as compressed air rises to the top because we find issues with that constantly. This is what the inspection process looks like. We use an app or website called Safety Reports. Really nice process. What this does is it allows us to focus on our inspection and not worry about relating the issue back to an OSHA standard number. Remember I showed you guys that OSHA book, how big it is. This takes that administrative burden off of us. So if we find an electrical issue, we can go up here, click under electrical, scroll down till we find it, click on it, take a picture of it, type in a recommended corrective action, and we're done. It's that easy. It has sped up our lives tremendously. Historically, we would bring all of our findings back here, spend an hour or more per report doing administrative work on it. This really eliminates that, and it's a fantastic tool. So when we go on site, we have a on-site point of contact that is fluid. It changes almost every time we go out. We'll meet with that person. We tell them why we're there, because we don't fire warning shots any longer. We're not sending an email out saying, hey, I'm going to come visit you next week. We just show up. We show up, we meet with our point of contact. Typically we go unescorted. We conduct the inspection using this app. We'll come back and review it with the point of contact. If they want it on site right then, we can send it to them. Typically they don't. We'll send it to them same day or first thing next morning, however they want it. That's how the process works. Pretty good, pretty fast. With this app, it makes it very simple. You still got to be able to identify the risk in the workplace. That's the hardest part. But once you identify it, this makes writing the report very, very easy. And it looks really nice. If you guys have ever seen one of these, it generates out a really sharp looking report. So, some of the things we find in relation to electrical. And the reason I'm covering this is because you guys have electrical issues in this building. And in the building up the hill, and at your homes. Number one cause of fire in industries, offices, and businesses is electrical issues, typically related to surge protectors. Surge protectors are designed to run computer components. Is a space heater a computer component?
Yes.
No. That's why you would be on my inspection report. Is a microwave a computer component?
Yes.
No. That's why you're on my report.
Think about
Please look at your area, see if you have surge protectors, and see what's plugged into them. Surge protector is different than the battery backups that we have. You know, the big battery backups. That's separate. I'm talking the little cheap $2 strip that you can plug in and then plug 6 things into. That's different. We also find, and it would scare you to death if you travel with us, we find a lot of stuff like this. That's 480 volt electrical panel wide open to the world. Anybody can walk up and stick their hand in that. It's easy for us to identify it as strangers to the workplace because we're brand new eyes, right? It's hard for people who work in a place day after day to see the hazards. It's very simple for us to see them. Not disconnected during service. Lockout, tag out. You guys have heard me talk about that. So if somebody's working on an energized piece of equipment and they don't shut it down, you would be surprised how often maintenance folks will do that. And it's not standard 110 or 120 volt electricity either. We're talking 480, 1240 and above, right? Life-changing electrical energy. For some reason, they choose not to shut it off when they work on it. This panel right here is at a client of ours in Greenwood. It's up high enough nobody can stick their hand in it. But the cover is off, and what you're looking at is a fuse panel. One of the fuses is pulled. They pulled the fuse while it was energized. They pull it to shut a piece of equipment off, and then when they want it to run, they get a ladder and climb up there and stick the fuse back in. On a ladder, metal ladder by the way.
Oh my gosh.
It's awesome. Emergency equipment is another one we see a lot of. And this is so standard because we have them everywhere. We got fire extinguishers in this building, right? So what we see oftentimes are restricted access to fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers not being properly inspected. At least annually somebody comes around and inspects them. And then lack of training. PIT, powered industrial trucks, forklifts. OSHA is very specific on the training program that has to be implemented with forklifts. Elevated forks, like we see in the picture, not allowed unless somebody's sitting in the seat. If you have a catastrophic hydraulic failure with our hero working on an engine, it's going to fall. He doesn't get his feet out of the way, right? We all know the saying, when you get in your car, what is it for seatbelts? Click it or ticket. There's a lot of people, a lot of our clients choose not to wear seatbelts when they're operating a forklift. I don't understand it. If you're operating a forklift, this rollover cage, roll protection cage is called a rollover protection system. It's there to protect you. If that thing goes to flip or fall over while you're riding it, it's going to throw you on the ground and land on you. Usually about 20 some odd people a year die from that very example I just gave you, but they choose not to wear seatbelts. Chemical management's another big one. Colby was running around with one this morning. He found a spray bottle in our building with some sort of a chemical in it, but it's not identified.
Ken would know.
No, he wouldn't. You would think he would. Maybe Mrs. Ken would know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge when you start looking at chemical management. This is always, all of these so far are on the OSHA's top 10 reoccurring issues. This one is always way up high. It's very important that we get chemicals labeled so we know what they are. Even basic janitorial supplies. So in our building, if you have a spray bottle and it's not labeled, but it's got some sort of a blue chemical in it, you can pretty well guess it's Windex, right? To label that, all we got to do is write Windex on it. Now if it's an acid or something, there's a little bit more labeling required, but it's pretty simple. Who wants to use that? And I'll tell you, it's actually fairly clean right now compared to the way it normally is.
Wow.
You know, OSHA will knock the life out of somebody for this.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
This is a big issue Some of our smaller clients, especially the mechanic shops and the cabinet shops and pallet manufacturers, this one is actually fairly, I was comfortable putting this picture up here. Some of them I wouldn't be comfortable showing you the picture of. There's a standard. You gotta provide a clean place for folks to use the restroom. Another issue that we have is bloodborne pathogens and needle sticks. We work anywhere from 10 to 15 needle stick injuries a year at this office from, not people here, of course, our clients, professional medical folks getting stuck with used needles. Machine guarding, this is a huge one. People take guards off of machines, operate machines without guards. They feel they don't need a guard. Manufacturer, they spend millions of dollars to design the guard, but the person operating it knows better, so they take the guard off. And then they stick their hands in there and saw their hand in half with a table saw. That happened this year. Guy ran a blade of a table saw right up between his two fingers because he took the guard off, because he's smarter than the people that designed it. Or in this example, this button is a reset fault. So the machine was faulting out so it wouldn't operate, and the employee had to hit the reset button. So instead of hitting the reset button, they made a nice little clip to just hold the reset button down so the machine would keep operating right up till the machine caught on fire. Machine, what's that?
He laughed and said, "I'm sorry, that was terrible."
We see all this, we identify it, and what stings is when we identify it and then somebody gets hurt. The table saw I mentioned earlier where the guy cut between his two fingers, we had identified that on 2 previous inspections. Environmental, this is a big one. OSHA has very specific limits on what they're going to beat an employer for. And it's based off of the salary or the income of the company plus the type of incident. These types of issues, if the EPA came out, they'll swing for the fences. They're going to try to retire. This is simply machine cutting oil. Somebody put a 55-gallon drum in a dumpster and it leaked and it ran right down to a stormwater drain. If Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality or EPA would have found that, they would have swung for the fences. It would have been a very expensive citation. So we constantly look for this stuff when we're out there. So workers' comp claims for the year, as of 12/12, we had 223 total claims through this office. That's what Rick does, right? Doesn't sound like a whole lot, less than one a day, whatever. Some of these are massive claims, some of them are very minor, some of them are report only. We just get it, we log it, and carry on. But this is his workload, and you'll notice every year there's always a spike in the summertime. People start getting distracted at work, thinking about 4th of July, going to the lake, barbecues, beer, whatever. We see that spike. We'll see another one typically in January. We'll see it edge back up as well from December. Types of injuries, sprains and strains lead the way. Backs, ankles, necks. Lacerations, hands and fingers, there's the needle sticks. Motor vehicle, electrical shock. Remember, we were talking about electrical. Some of the trainings we've offered this year, we do hot works, lockout, tagout, behavior-based. We do a lot of training, trying to get ahead of it. And you can tell when you look at our clients and the injuries they have, you can tell who takes advantage of our training and who doesn't. And it's very apparent. This is leg compliance. We did that for a very specific customer, but we can also do it for fab shops. Metal fabrication shops deal with lead as an alloy in the metals that they're handling, so they have to have that same type of training. So compliance assistance, of course we help with OSHA. We don't have the teeth to make a client OSHA compliant. I can't go in, write all their procedures, stick it on a wall, and force their employees to be compliant. I can coach them, I can provide the raw materials, I can review it for them, I can train to the OSHA standard, but I can't make them compliant because I'm not their boss. Does that make sense? It stings because we can identify it, we see it, we talk to them, they've got great intentions of becoming compliant, and it seems like we get real close and just miss every year. We help with Arkansas Department of Health. Arkansas Department of Health actually registers all the x-ray machines in the state of Arkansas. So a lot of our clients have x-ray machines for quality purposes. They x-ray a layer of chrome that they've put on a part, or they'll x-ray defects into a metal part. So we assist with that. They also do lasers. We've got several clients that use lasers for burning metal, and they register those. Oklahoma Department of Labor. Oklahoma has their own OSHA. So in Oklahoma, it's a little different. It's above and beyond what OSHA is, but we assist with that. We help with ADEQ, EPA, and then the big one that is becoming more and more prevalent is something called ISNet. ISNet is a third-party vendor that large companies like Gerdau, like OG&E, Georgia Pacific, they hire this company to verify the safety of subcontractors or contractors that are coming to work for them. So we have clients that contract to these large companies and they need assistance with ISNet compliance. We offer it because it's in safety language. We understand the lingo. The aggravating part is it does nothing for the client. It doesn't make them safer. It's an exercise of jumping through a hoop just so they can be qualified to work somewhere. So we write procedures. We've got one client, Simple Trucking Company out of Spiro, Oklahoma, because of all the jobs they wanted at OG&E, they got 42 policies that they have to have. And of those 42, we had to make 14 of them because they checked too many boxes when they went through. This is a big nuisance, but it's a true value add to our clients because it allows them to work at large companies. So we jump through hoops for them. And in the end, it works out. But as far as safety goes, it's really not making them safer. It's just get it on paper. All right, 5 minutes early. Any questions about anything we've talked about?